Kathy. Hello, Donna. Hello, Roger. And Standing Stone. Beautiful people. Hey there, Twisted Witch. Hello, Angela. How are you doing
Hello,
today?
how are you? How's everybody doing?
Chris Hensley. What's going on? I can't wait to check out that audio. So,
There's Donna.
Yeah, Donna and
Standing
everybody.
Stone.
Twisted Witch has been a while. Glad you're here. I know you've been dealing with a lot. Yeah. So I have been doing some stuff that I want to know. Inquiring minds. Yes.
Okay.
So I have been working on a project for the past. Chris says, hello, Angela.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Donna says, I'm doing great. How are y'all doing? Doing wonderful there, Donna. So, Operation Stealth Camera. I've been talking about this for the past 2 or 3 shows.
Okay.
And so what I've been doing is I think I put enough cameras out, but I've got these different makes and models of trail cams. And, you know, I deal with cryptids and everything. Hey, Eric, welcome to the show, everybody.
Hi,
And
Standing Stone.
yeah, make sure, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please like us, subscribe, and ring the bell, and follow us if you don't mind. So I got all these different makes and models. Hey, Denise of Trail Cams.
There's Denise. Hello.
And so I have been out in the woods, and I have been in the jungle, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah. And man, I have messed up my legs, going through the briar bushes and everything. And so I have done these cameras in tactical military style. And I use a lot of Gorilla Tape. So we're trying to catch something on cameras. I know we got a lot of deer, raccoons, possums, and wildlife, right? Coyotes and stuff like that. But you know what I'm after, Angela. You know, the big elusive creature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I may have come across some tracks this afternoon behind the house. But you know how you want something to be, and you got that pareidoia, right? So I'm like, nah. So I was like, I'm reading too much into it. And then I was like, you know, if I'm picking this apart this much, I'm going to overlook it, because I'm not going to put it out there and be like, Grizzly, what do you want me to look at?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but yeah, so I have got cams on cams, and I mean, and I have covered some acres. And so it took me a day and a half to do it. I just finished it up today. I want to know,
Mm-hmm.
from your experience, do you think I'll capture anything?
I think you'll see something.
Besides deer and raccoons and poppums? You think
there's
I will?
a lot out there. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
I hope so. Man, wouldn't that be something, ladies and gentlemen? So I have this nice GPS. I had to write down each coordinates to the trail cams where I put them up in these trees, because these trail cams, some of them are about the size of your hand or smaller. And I put them up on trees, and I turn around, I'm like, what tree did I put them in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were just like disappeared. So I had to write down the coordinates of each one. So I finally got them all done today. But man, am I feeling it. So that's what I've been up to.
Well, that sounds exciting.
So yeah, so the batteries last 5 to 8 months. Some do video and still. Some just do stills. But there's a mixture of them, right? So, but I got them up. Maybe a C streaker. Yeah, I know, right, Roger? Right, yeah. So, hello, Rita. Welcome to the show, Rita. There's no telling, you know, I may get nothing. I may get some ripped from the trees. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to get. But I don't know. I'm just curious. So that's what I've been up to. So what have you been up to?
Not too much. I've been doing my readings. I've been doing my readings. Um, I've been doing a lot of readings actually, and still working on my animation project. And that's about it. That's about it. The
So
readings are a lot. That's a lot. I've been, I do people on Zoom. They come to my house. I'm on the phone, so it's a lot.
Yeah. So how is your animation coming along? I know it's been a
I
while
have
since we
everything
talked about it.
I have everything going fine, except I need a somebody to finance it. Now, my distributor said that she knows finance people. She'll check with some of her people, but I have a lead to somebody. Maybe by October, I may ask.
Oh.
So I don't know, but it's the financing is just. I talked to other people in the field because the guy in California who's trying to find me financing also tries to help other people find financing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and so then he introduces me to these people, and it's just the funding. It's just it's just the hardest thing to get. But I think I'll be okay once I get it. But I feel more hopeful that I will get it because of this contact that I know that may do it in October.
Well, that's good. That's really good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. So I did a show the other day with Joe Swanson, and he was in the MK Ultra program. So I got to give you the link to that show. I want you to watch that show.
Okay, and how old is he?
He's probably right around Peter's age.
Yeah, but that's younger than me. So the MK Ultra didn't. I mean, and what did he say?
I'll just let you watch the show.
He would have to be older than me because the MK Ultra ended by the time. In fact, it was very hard to get a remote viewing group together because
Well, he brought that up. He
when he
brought up
brought
a lot of things.
Whenever the Defense Intelligence Agency or the military tried to get remote viewers, Congress came in and said no because of what the CIA did under their program, MK Ultra. And they said no, but they said if they gave us one, but we had to be under very strict human use protocols. They could not do anything to influence our brain.
Yeah, he said he was in an old building that's no longer there. That was built in the 30s or 40s. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, what was this guy's name?
Joe Swanson. I imagine if you saw him. So, because he hit on a lot of things that you hit on last year that when we first met and stuff. So it's very interesting. That old building
would have been the one up at Fort Meade where I was. It was
yes.
It was a pre-World War I building.
Yes, it was exactly what he said.
Okay.
And he named the floor and everything.
Named the what?
The floor.
What about the floor?
What floor he was on?
Oh, there was only one floor.
That's right.
Okay.
So yeah. So hey, Nigel, welcome to the show. But but I'll send you the link after the show so you can go back and watch it. Okay. But he seemed very credible. So he talked about some stuff he couldn't talk about. But very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah. But hello, Gary. Welcome to the show. Chris had just morphed, right? There we go. But Gary's saying hi to you too, Angela.
Hi, Gary Spike Sr.
But it just shows if, how small the world is, how circles do connect. And I try to explain this to people, and people don't understand. Always be nice to people because you never know when you're going to cross their paths again. And that's why I never burn any bridges with people.
I know my girlfriend is a fundraiser for congressional members, and she was trying to get involved with an organization that she wants to do fundraising for because she's a natural fundraiser. So she contacted the woman, and the woman was kind of cool to her, like the woman kind of cool, didn't act like she had time with her or anything. So then my girlfriend said something, her name was Turkish, and she said, "Are you Turkish?" And the woman said, "Yes." Well, my girlfriend is Greek. Both of her parents are Greek, but her father was born in Turkey, even though he was Greek, even though he was a Greek. He was Greek. And she said, "My father was born in Turkey." She said, "Angela, that woman turned around and couldn't have been nicer." And she said that woman felt like she made a connection, and now she's working with my friend.
See? I'm trying to tell people that, but people don't ever want to believe me. They're like, Grizzly just doesn't he just speaks just to hear him talk, is what I think. But I see what happens when people burn bridges, because it's funny. I've seen people before become people's bosses. I've seen bosses become people's employees and vice versa. So, yeah. You never know who's my enemy, because I can still sit at the dinner table and eat with them and smile.
Oh, yeah. It's not work because people aren't going to change. People are not going to change. So it's just, you have to be aware of what they're like and how much are you going to engage.
That is correct.
Because you never know when like my one girlfriend, she doesn't like a couple of my friends, and she's just totally cut them off. Well, you never know when you're going to need people. If they could, they may be able to do something for you, because people aren't going to change. We're not perfect. But I have a story. If you want to.
All right. I'm ready for Angela's story.
Okay, now I worked with this one guy I worked with this one man. This was after the psychic program. And this young man, his name was Mark. And when he was brought into the Defense Intelligence Agency, he wasn't hired by the agency. He was hired by, it was Office of Personnel, which is, they're ahead of all the government agencies. And whenever they hire people. So what this office did is, this Office of Personnel, they came out and they hired 24 chemical engineers. And then they put these chemical engineers into different agencies. They put one like at the Department of Energy. We got a few at Defense Intelligence Agency. CIA got a few, Navy intelligence, because chemical engineers, you needed them because they knew how to make weapons of mass destruction. And at that point, we were looking at Iraq and Hussein and capability. So you needed a chemical engineer because they could tell you how you put things together. Well, whenever they hired these chemical engineers, they were supposed to get a raise for 4 years. Like 1 year they would be there, then they'd get a raise. The next year they would get a raise. The next year they'd get a raise. The next year they'd get a raise. Well, what happened was, when this guy was ready to get the top money, the top raise, he went and then he just went to the boss and said, "Okay, it's time for me to get my raise." And the boss said, "Oh no," he said, we don't have any money." He was working at Defense Intelligence Agency. So he went to his boss at Defense, and the boss said, "Oh no," he said, "money's tight. We can't give you a raise." And he said, "Yeah, but I wasn't hired by the agency. I was hired by Office of Personnel, and the money will be coming from them. I'm supposed to get my raise." And they said, "Oh no, you're not going to get it." So he followed the chain of command, the boss, the boss's boss, the boss's boss. He just went up the whole chain of command.
Oh no.
Well, we started working we worked with this other man named John, and the director of our agency, which was like a 2 or 3 star general. Apparently this man John and this general, they were in the infantry together like 20-30 years ago when they were first young boys getting in the military. So they knew each other. So John calls up the director of Defense Intelligence Agency and says, "My friend has a problem here. he won't get promoted, and he's supposed to because he was selected from the Office of Personnel as this chemical engineer, and he's supposed to be at this rate. So the general said, well, let me look into this. So the general came down and he said, you're right. He said, you are exactly right. You should have this promotion. Well, the general was getting ready for his next assignment, or he may have been retiring. So he told Mark, he said, Mark, he said that what your people are doing is they're waiting for me to leave. And I think he was retiring, or he may have gone to Homeland Security. And he said, you're not going to get the raise. Your people know that I'm leaving. They're waiting for me to leave. So they think this is going to be the end of it. He said, if I leave and you don't get your raise, he said, call me at my number. Call me at home. Gave him the number. So Mark had said, so Mark called him up and said, I didn't get my raise. So the man that left, the general that left, called the new general that was the head of Defense Intelligence Agency. And so one morning we got a call, and they said, Mark Gosnell, got the raise, and that, and that was it, and that nobody was supposed to ask about it. But he finally did get the raise because he went, I guess, he met with the big honchos that could do it and looked it up for him. And I don't know why our management wouldn't give him a job, because it was like they were saving the money for other people. Because Mark said, when I was told there was no money for raises, he said, I could understand that. But then he said, I saw all these other people getting raises. And that's when I questioned, where's my raise? So Mark finally got his raise. And the general, the one who left, wrote Mark a letter. And he said, congratulations on your raise. And he said, and please do not do, and it kind of put Mark in a management put him in a management role. And he said, but please do not do unto others what was just done to you. So that's
wow. Wow. Woo. Let me tell you something. I know what happened when I was in law enforcement and I went over my boss's head or my supervisor's head. That was not a good move.
No, but he would, and everybody was like, oh no, you can't. They were saving the money for their favorites. They wanted to promote who they wanted to promote. And they weren't going to give it to him. Oh no, we're not giving it to Mark. And then I think they tried to get back at him because they wanted to send him, I think, to Iraq. They send civilians to war zones. And right. I think they were going to send him to Afghanistan or Iraq. And so they called him in and they said, you're going to Iraq. So Mark was at lunch and this woman said, well, gee, Mark, aren't you afraid? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I don't want to go to Iraq. And she says, well, you don't have to go. It's volunteer. Well, see, the boss didn't tell him that. He told him he had to go. So Mark said, hey, is this volunteer? And the boss said, well, yes. And Mark said, well, I don't want to go. He says, I'm not going. So our other friend John went to the boss and he said, why are you picking Mark to go? He doesn't want to go. And our boss said, well, he's single and he doesn't have a family. So if something happened to him, he wouldn't be missed. And but I would miss him. I'm his friend. His mother would miss him. I said, he wasn't married and he didn't have a family.
Wow.
Mark didn't go. And the one man who kept wanting Mark to go, we had a senior, I don't know what senior analyst, and he was pushing Mark to go. So Mark got out of it. So management didn't know how they were going to get civilians into Iraq and into Afghanistan. So they said, well, let's do the lottery. Do you remember years ago during Vietnam, they did the lottery? They said, well, we'll do the lottery system. So I walked into work one morning, and everybody I worked with was, "What's your social security number?" So I gave it to them, and everybody's looking at the list on where they are. They're even sending females over, and they're sending like 50-year-old females over. And like my girlfriend was like, "Who in the heck would put a gun into a menopausal woman's hand?" But so we were looking at the list to see where everybody was. Well, everybody that I worked with was way down. I mean, we were all safe, but there was one social security number that nobody, it was like number 2 on the list. And they were like, "Who is this? Who is this?" So we asked the woman, our little secretary, because she always did orders for when people traveled. So she knew social security numbers. Well, here it was this guy that was giving Mark a hard time to go to these war zones. He came when they did the lottery. He was number 2 on the list, which meant he had to go.
Wow.
I mean, is that karma or what?
Yes.
Well, we started laughing, and do you know he retired? He put in his retirement orders.
Wow. See, ladies and gentlemen, what did I say? I'm telling you, it may not happen right now, but it does down the road, ladies and gentlemen. That is wild.
Yeah, so that's what happened there. But yeah, I mean, but a lot of times people like to reward their own.
Yes, and I've seen that, and I had that on the PD. I got stuck with calls when I was on certain shifts. I'm not going to lie. My lieutenant saved me. Yeah. Because he was like, you're getting stuck on a lot of calls and the other officers are not. So, yeah.
Hi, Liz.
So, Liz and everybody saying hello. Nilda. Yeah, wow, karma. Now, Nilda's got a question for you.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
She says, will I be asked to go back and volunteer at the school I was at last year, or something else coming my way?
When is her birthday?
Nilda, when is your birthday, hon? Can you tell me that? Hello, Donna. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Nilda, need your DOB date of birth, please, Nilda, and we'll get you fixed up here. But and I try to tell people, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why you're always kind. And if somebody is talking negative about somebody to you, stop them and turn it into a positive. 11/11/1960. 11/11/1960. And that's what I always try to tell people. If somebody's always backstabbing somebody, tell them, hey, I don't want to hear it. Leave me out. And take up for that person. Or just play dumb and just say, just leave me out of it. But I'm telling you, if somebody brings you negative, turn it into positive, it's gonna pay dividends. All right.
Okay, she wants to know if she's gonna go back to the okay, hold on.
Let me go back to her little thing here. Let's see here. It was back here. Let's see. Her question was, Nilda, will I be asked to go back and volunteer at the school I was at last year, or is something else coming my way? Hey, Russ, welcome to the show there, kind sir.
I think if she goes back to the school, she may go for a little while, but I do feel something else coming her way. She has a very nurturing spirit. She's a good communicator, and she works well with other people. Has she ever thought?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just think G-Man just zapped us. Yeah, so there she is. Let me click her back. She's coming back. All right. I thought G-Man got a hold of you.
No, I always hit a certain button when I'm doing the cards. I'm doing the cards on the computer.
And you're all black. Yeah, I have no video.
Oh, let me go. You want me to go back and should I go back in?
Just hit your camera button.
Oh, up here? Let me go back for a minute.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Never mind.
Yeah, I thought G-Man zapped you there for a minute. I thought, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're being censored.
The cam is on.
Uh-oh.
Let me go back. I'm just.
Well, she got booted again. So, all right. Well, here she comes. All right. Now I got a picture, but no video.
Okay, hold on.
Now you should be able to click your camera. There
Can
you go.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you now.
Okay. I think Nilda, if she does go back to the school, I do feel something else will come her way. She's very nurturing. She works well with others. Could she do anything like in the nursing field or in like, I don't know. I feel like taking care of people, and I don't think it's kids.
Nilda, does that resonate? Does that make any sense with you, hon? Let's see what she says here. In a different depth of the department of the school. Oh, well, yeah. So I guess it does with kids then.
Okay, if it's in a different department, then it wouldn't be necessarily with the children. It would be more like more within like a grown-up. It wouldn't be with the children. It would be, she cares for her mom. Okay. But if she goes back to the school, if it's in a different department, I don't think it's directly with the kids. Is it like in a grown-up office or someplace?
Let's see what she says here, Nilda. Will you be working with adults and not the kids, is what she asked, Nilda? You know, that is a fascinating story, and I wish people would learn about it. Missy Juju, long time no hear. Nice to have you back. I hate to mess with her. She works at a gun store. So, yeah. She sends me some funny memes sometimes. That's interesting. Yes, I love kids. So will you be working with kids or adults? And yes, Eric, I as soon as I saw your comments, yes, you and I do need to get together and work on some shows because I'm your key. So, kids, she says.
Kids. Okay. I don't know. I just feel like if she goes back, it would be different. Oh. Only the paperwork, Grizzly. Juju bang bang.
I don't know what juju bang bang means besides the gun store, I guess. So, okay.
Okay.
So that's interesting. So Eric, yes, I do need to get with Eric. I know. I'm glad you reminded me, Eric. So we'll work on that the next day or so. Get you on the books and get you scheduled and locked in. Because you got to make some money. So that's interesting, Nilda. So, but no, you know, and a lot of people don't understand stuff that we talk about until it's too late. So,
now, Standing Stone, why did you put 1776? That I want to know. Why 1776?
All right, Standing Stones, you're on the spot here. 1776. I think I know why, but I want to know from your perspective. Birth of America.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. That's what Chris says. That's what I was thinking too. So yeah. So interesting. So Eric was saying he remembers the remote viewing program a while back ago in the comments too. So, and you actually went to, didn't they send you to Russia over that?
No, I went to Russia after I retired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because the Cold War ended in 1991, whenever the Soviet Union fell apart. And then all the different regions became different countries, like Georgia, Belarus. They became independent countries. And when the program, when it ended, our scientist who was doing parapsychology research made our government pay his way to Russia because he wanted to meet the people who was doing the scientific study of parapsychology. So he met them, and then through them he actually met their remote viewers, but they didn't call them remote viewers, they called them psychics. And the general who was the head of the psychic program. I liked Russia a lot. The energy was unbelievable. Every day I was on Red Square. I saw the Kremlin. It was in December. They were celebrating Christmas. They had Christmas trees up to the sky. It was very festive for the holidays. We on Red Square, there's not only the Kremlin, there are about 2 or 3 churches, the Byzantine churches. They have the largest department store in the world. And there was a ice skating rink, and they were playing Elvis Presley. They were playing Elvis Presley tunes in 1950. I think 1950s and 1960 songs, but it was just amazing. I liked it. I would go back. It's huge. It's just huge.
Tell them what they did to you about your present.
About my present?
Yeah.
Well, okay. And these were the people I met. Now, when I remote viewed, it was in the late 80s and early 90s. And this is whenever these people were involved in their program. They were the ones that traveled with Gorbachev and Yeltsin. And I met the guy, he was the head of the KGB at that time. And then I met another man who, did I tell you about the laboratories I went in and how they teach people the psychokinesis? Did I tell you that? Okay, so we had this event. They invited us. My friend, Dr. Ed May, became friends with them. And then they wrote a book in Russian called ESP Wars. And then we wrote the same book in English called ESP Wars. And what it talked about is they spied on us and we spied on them. And we kind of said, I think one remote viewer, Joe McMonagle, he remote viewed the first nuclear submarine that the Russians made. And then, so you have all of this information in these books. Well, there was a newspaper, the government newspaper gave us a reception. I think it was called the Reseta. And I got an invitation in Russian to go over to attend this reception that the Russian government was having for remote viewers. So we went over. They gave me a little medal. I never got a medal from the United States, but I got a little medal. And while we were there at this reception, there was a lot of media people there, people taking pictures. There were newspaper, things being written up for the newspaper. So we got approached by this young kid. He said, my boss wants to know if we could put you on or televise us for a television show the next day. So we said, sure. So he came over to our hotel. He came over, or we met him at a restaurant near, I don't know, we met him somewhere, but near Red Square. So we were doing this interview for the his show. And we went to a restaurant, and this young guy, the guy who seemed to be ahead of it, he had cameramen there or whatever. I don't know if he was the producer or not, but he said, "My boss has a present for you." And he handed me a white box. And when I went to take it, he said, "But you have to tell us what's in the box first." So this was on camera, and that's the worst thing you can do, is ask somebody to. For me, McMonagle was on. Yeah, Joe was on the Art Bell show. That's right. So anyway, I looked at Ed May, and so Ed goes into this big spiel on, well, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, and like he's trying to explain in case I miss, these things happen. But anyway, what I did is I did get it. So I kept drawing circles, and then I was drawing another circle, and then I was drawing another circle, and then I kept saying like something was coming out, and I just repeating. I kept going down, like something coming out of the circle. Well, here, whenever he opened up when I got my present, it was one of those dolls, and I'll bring it next time. It was one of those dolls that, they're Russian dolls, and you open up it, and then there's a doll just like it, smaller, and then you open that up, and there's another doll that's smaller, and then another doll that's smarter.
That's wild. Here.
I'll bring it. I'll bring it next week.
That's wild.
So I did it, but anyway, there was one man that we met. He was a general back in the 80s or 90s, and he was the head of teaching, I guess. The Soviets did more than what we did. We were only tied to remote viewing because of that MK Ultra. They did everything, so we could only do remote viewing. The contract was, you're not getting into anything funny, like mind control but moving objects. But there was a general there, and he was the one who taught the PK, the movement of the objects, psychokinesis. He was a doctor. He was a doctor for like an internal medicine. He was also a psychiatrist. He was teaching at the University of Moscow, and he invited us to go to the University of Moscow to sit in with his class. So we went in and we sat in with the class, and I didn't realize this, but they were waiting for us, and the class was so happy to have us that this one guy we drank a lot of wine, we drank a lot of vodka, but this one young kid made beer for me. He said, I made my beer for Angela. So we had a little reception in this classroom where we were drinking and eating. And so then what this man did is he took me back to the labs where they taught the people the PK.
Wow.
And there were like three or four long rooms that you go into, and they test you, or they teach you how to move the objects. And I saw that. That was amazing to me. And we came out, and it was around 5 or 6 at night. It was December. It was dark. I felt like I was in a forest. I was waiting for the fairies to come out. It was very magical. It was a very magical place.
Wow.
I mean, and when we came back, we had to go through Berlin. We had a layover in Berlin. And so whenever we did this reception, the next day they had the newspapers, and our pictures were in the newspaper front page. But when we came, we had a layover in Berlin, and they were reading newspapers, and it was of our reception. And we saw, as we were standing in line and sitting around the Berlin airport, we saw like our pictures in their newspapers.
That's wild. That's wild.
I just couldn't. It was such an, and I traveled when I worked for the government, and I went to Italy, and I thought Italy was the best place I saw, but Moscow was. And my woman friend told me the same thing. She said, Angela, I thought when I went to Italy that was the best place to be until I went to Moscow, and I heard St. Petersburg is even better.
Wow.
But we went to a museum, and I guess, do you remember the Romanovs? They were the
Mm-hmm.
ones that Stalin killed because they were the royalty.
Right.
We went to a museum, and it showed how the Romanovs lived. They would dress their horses. You know how you would put like cloth on horses or saddlebags, or they were dressing those horses better than women wear dresses. My girlfriend loves to buy very expensive dresses and things. I told her, I said, they were dressing those horses more expensive than the things that you wear. But
Wow.
and how they traveled in the carts, it was unbelievable. And then Georgia is part of the it's a country. Well, now it's a country, but it was part of the Soviet Union, and it was the southern part of the Soviet Union, and it goes down. The next country is Turkey. So if you look where Georgia is on the map, it's almost like it goes down into the Middle East, and there's a lot of Middle Eastern influence in Georgia. So we ate a lot of the Georgian food, which was delicious. And we drank some Georgian wine, and it was the best wine I ever tasted. And I came back to the United States. I was trying to find some Georgian wine, and I can't. I think there may be a place in Annapolis, but they only get it one. It was just an experience. I've never had. And my friend Ed May, who yes, the Caucasus, that's right, the Caucasus Mountains. He said, Angela, he said, I've been to Russia or Moscow many times. He said, but with me, it was the best trip. So then Ed said, well, I wrote a paper, and he said, let me deliver it to this scientist over, I guess, through one of the trips that Ed went, he met a very prestigious scientist that studied parapsychology, but as a scientist, he has done other things. So Ed said, I want to deliver my paper to this man that he met on the last trip, or the man that he knows that he's in touch with. Well, here, the man got a promotion, and I believe the man was 80 years old. He just got a promotion. We went to the Kremlin to meet him. His office was like 3 doors down from Putin's.
Wow.
We couldn't believe it. And he was the nicest man. And I guess every year he is up for the Nobel Peace Prize in something.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I met some heavy hitters, but that one general that was the head of the KGB, that guy was crazy. He was crazy.
He'll make you go sleep with the fishes, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he was crazy. And then they showed up one day after we did this thing for television. Apparently, while we were there, it was the general's birthday. But every day we would go meet at, there was a man who was a healer. He was a psychic healer, and he was very well known in Russia. In fact, he was getting a whole documentary done on him. But whenever he worked in the military for the, he's okay. I see that. Whenever he worked for the military, he was the psychic that they would make travel with Gorbachev and Yeltsin to determine if anybody was trying to harm them. But now, since he's an older man, he's out of the program, so he's a healer, and he brings people in and he heals them. And there was a cameraman that always followed him around because he's getting a documentary done on him. But every day we would meet in his office. Well, one morning there was a knock on the door, and there were some more cameramen there, some more newspaper men there, and the KGB office, the man who was the head of the KGB, the general, it was his birthday, and I think he was turning 80 years old. So they wanted to do this whole thing on, the newspaper wanted to do this whole thing on this, ex-KGB officer, which I'm sure he was the KGB ahead of it for a long time. So they wanted to do an interview on him. So, so while we were there, while they were interviewing him, everybody was telling them about us coming from the United States and our books, and we were psychics. So they said, hey, they wanted to come back the next day, and they put us on their TV show. So I was on 2 TV shows. Wow. And they did their show in a restaurant, and my friend Ed May just made a smart remark. He said, yeah, and what's the name of the restaurant? Dr. Zhivago. And that was the name of the restaurant. And we went in there, and they had the big pictures of the movie and everything. So I was on 2 TV shows.
That is hilarious.
And then my friend Ed May took a picture of me right in front of the KGB building because he couldn't help it. He said, I got to do this. So he has a picture of me.
See, you never know who you're going to meet, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's wild. I could imagine me putting on the spot, telling me what's in the box. That was wild.
Joe McMoneagle has done a lot of TV. He would go to Japan and work. They would put him on TV, and the Japan policemen would give Joe problems that they were never able to solve. And a lot of them was finding people. And Joe, I think, said he may have done 25 times, and 13 times he could find people. And 12 times he missed. And he said it's very difficult, he said, because if you don't find the people and you fail, people will say, well, see, it doesn't work. And then if you have a success, people will say, oh, he was told the answer before the show. So it's a situation where you can't really win.
Yeah, no, you always have your doubters and stuff, and I found that out in the beginning. And I, during my journey, I have a lot of people that didn't believe and now are believers. Nelda says, Angela, your reply makes sense now because I help with kids, but I also help with the parent with any school problem. Thank you. I'll keep you updated.
Okay. Oh, she worked with the parents too. She worked with the kids, but she should get paid. I mean, she said she was only a volunteer, but I want her to get paid.
Yeah.
Nilda, will you get paid? Are they going to pay her?
So, yeah, that's pretty wild to have the opportunity of a lifetime to meet somebody like that or people like that.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was in for. I mean, it was around, I think I got the invitation at the end of November, like a week before Thanksgiving. And we had to get visas to go over there. So we had to go to the Soviet embassy or the Soviet consulate in Washington, D.C. And I standing so he knew what was in the box before. Okay, so they had to rush us through. They wanted us, I think the reception was December 15th, but they wanted us there on the 8th to rehearse everything. So it was intense. All of a sudden I got the invitation. Yes, we're going. Let's get to the consulate. Let's get things moving. So it was a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, it's still very exciting though.
Yeah, and I told my husband, and they go, did your husband go? And I'm like, my husband. Oh, they put us on a special visa. I forget. they called it a humanitarian visa, so we could get through. But my husband would have never made it because they couldn't have put him on a humanitarian visa. He would have never made. So anyway, I just told my husband, I said, I was invited to Moscow. Should I go? And he said, yes. So I said, well, do we have any money? And he said, well, we'll get money. And here my boy was actually paid for.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Nice. That was nice.
Yeah. Awesome. See, ladies and gentlemen, you never know. So, hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. That's very interesting.
So, Standing Stone, how did you know what was in the box before me?
Oh, Standing Stone. Do I need to play you some music? She was asking you a question. I just thought that was interesting that they put you on the spot like that.
Oh, and you know what? And the guy, so what happened was the guy that had asked me the question, I called him the producer, but he was like the producer's producer or whatever. But when I was doing it, I could see him at one point. He had like his thumbs up and he was smiling. He was showing the crew like she got it. And then at that point I quit because then I knew I had it. But he told me, he said, I didn't think you would do it.
He said, ESP, Angela, ESP.
Okay.
Isn't that wild?
Mm-hmm.
Nelda, that's because my mom, she's 83, has dementia, and I need to keep busy with doing something I love and keep an eye on my mom. Oh, sorry to hear that. That's why she volunteers.
Okay.
Yes. Helps keep your minds off things too, doesn't it, Nelda? That is interesting, though. So you got the original one. I forgot, somebody named the dolls. I forgot what they're called, but
the Musking dolls or something. I don't know, but I have it here.
That's interesting. So what's your plans for the rest of the evening? Anything particular interesting? I sent you the link, by the way.
Okay, good. That's
to
what I'm
that
gonna
show.
Do.
Yeah. To that
then
show.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna listen to him.
Yeah. And let me know what you think. So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we'll call it a wrap.
Thank you very much thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and from coast to coast and around the world, y'all have a great evening. Take care. Night.
Bye-bye.